Hey guys, welcome back to Ouch Mountain. It has turned really cold here and we've gotten some snow this week. We've shown you how the stove works and the first fire and how it operates. Today I want to show you what it does for us as far as heating our house, so y'all stay with us. So when Sarah and I were building our house, we looked into this idea of an outdoor wood stove. We were kind of intrigued by the idea. We have unlimited firewood, an abundance of firewood. We had two boys that could help us cut and split and stack firewood. So we really looked into it. They're not real common here in the South. It doesn't get that bitter cold for very long stretches, but it kind of seemed like a good idea. In the house we used to live in before we built this house, we had an indoor wood stove. And it worked really well, except there's a lot of mess, as you guys know, with an indoor wood stove. There's spiders, there's dust, there's debris. And so an outdoor wood stove sounded kind of good. And so we kind of did some research and we decided that's the route we wanted to go. So we're here in the house and I'm going to show you the 3 ways that our outdoor wood stove heats our house. So the first way we heat our house with the outdoor wood stove is underfloor radiant tubing. So the boiler heats the water that's in a big bladder. It comes underground. We bury the tubing in a ditch about 3 feet deep underground. It comes to the house and runs through radiant tubing that's mounted under our first floor. So the superheated water from the stove is pumped here to the house and then it's circulated through this radiant tubing. And the radiant tubing runs in long stretches between all of our floor joists here under the first floor, and the radiant heat just sort of rises and heats our first floor. And it's really pretty nice because everything on the first floor is nice and warm. The floors are warm, the furniture's warm, and the first 6 or 7 feet up from the floor is really nice and toasty. Then the heat rises up to our second floor, which we have kind of an open floor plan, and so the heat rises and it really heats the majority of our house just to the radiant tubing. So I've come in the house to see what temperature our floors are at, and I have the stove running. It's running not quite at peak temperature. It's about running about 175 degrees. It will kick up to 185. But at 175 degrees, let's see what the floor temperature is doing. We'll take a mark right here. I have like an infrared thermometer here. Let's see if we can see it. Let's turn it on. So it's like 79.8 to 80 degrees. So the floor on this, or the temperature of the floor, this is a tile floor in the bathroom, is about 80 degrees. Let's see what it is right over here on a hardwood floor. Let's see. We can take it somewhere right here, just turn around. So 78. 78.9, let's move right over here. Let's see if it changes. 77.9. So we've got the floor temperature on this hardwood floor is 79. On the tile, that's about 80 degrees. So it is extremely warm. So this is the really nice thing about this radiant tubing and the outdoor wood stove. Is having warm floors. Everything around us is warm, and it makes it very nice on these really cold nights. So the way our layout is designed, the tubing is split up into 5 different zones, and it's done that way just because if you had one big loop doing the whole entire house, by the time it got to the other end of the house, the water would be really cold. So this way, it's split up into 5 zones, and 5 small loops all return back to the stove to get reheated. That reduces the heat loss and makes it a lot more efficient. So let me give you a close-up of the radiant tubing itself. So the PEX tubing, this is 1/2-inch PEX tubing, and it has an aluminum core, kind of aluminum cylinder, and it is sandwiched between 2 layers of PEX, inside and outside. And the aluminum's there just to reduce the heat loss when it's traveling from the stove to the house. So the second way we heat our house is with this heat exchanger. So when we built our house, we put in 2 regular electric heat pumps, one for our main floor, one for the second floor. But on this one that is used for the main floor, we installed a heat exchanger. So inside this heat exchanger is a whole layer of coils that the superheated water that comes from the stove runs through these coils. And when we turn the fan on, not really the heat pump, but the fan on the heat pump, it will blow over these hot coils and blow hot air through our ductwork all through the first floor. So the air coming through this heat exchanger is much warmer than what the electric heat pump can do. The water coming from the stove that's going through these coils is, when it leaves the stove, it's 185 degrees. It probably has some heat loss between here and there. The stove sits maybe 100, 110 feet from the house. So there's some heat loss underground as it travels here, but let's say it's 170 degrees when it runs through this heat, the heat exchanger through these coils. And so that is super hot air coming through the ductwork. There's a noticeable difference in the temperature of the heat of the air coming through the ductwork, through the air vents, when it's being fed through the heat exchanger and the wood stove versus the heat pump running by itself. All right, so I'm going to try to take a reading on the air temperature coming out of our vents when the stove and the fan are blowing. As I told you, we have the hot water from the stove running through a heat exchanger that then blows, a fan can blow over those hot coils, and we can have hot air coming through our air vents without the heat pump running. So right now I've got a thermometer that's just measuring the air temperature, and it's at 74 degrees, 74.4 degrees. And so now I'm going to turn the fan on, and I'll move it right over our vent, which is right here. Let's see if I can move this over the air. This is harder than it looks. Let's see what temperature we get here. So we turn the fan on and we'll come right back. So it takes just a second for the fan to kick on. And right now it's still reading 86 degrees. Let's see if the fan just kicked on. It's quickly going up. There's over 90, 93, 96, 100. So this is the air temperature coming through the heat exchanger running through our air vents that's being heated through the wood stove. So we're at 111, 112, still going up. $116, 117. Still going up. It's at 120. So right now we have 120 degree air coming through our air vents, which is really nice to help compensate when it gets down to single digits or down around zero. Having this fan kick on and blow some really hot air is great to keep the house warmed up. So we're 121. So I may just stop here in just a second. 122. So 123. All right, we'll stop there. I think it's really slowing down now. So 123 degree air coming through our air vents being heated by the wood stove. Pretty cool. All right, I'm I'm gonna check it one more time. It's been another couple minutes, and we'll see what the temperature is. It's 130.1. So, in a very unscientific experiment, looks like the hot air coming through the vents being fed by the wood stove is about 130 degree air, which is pretty cool and is nice to have on these really cold nights in January. So the third way we use the outdoor wood stove is to heat our hot water. So it's tied in with our electric water heater, and the way it works is this. So we have the superheated water coming from the stove that feeds this sleeve. This copper sleeve surrounds a water line that just circulates the water from the top to the bottom of our water heater. The two waters don't mix. The hot water from the water heater and the wood stove don't commingle, but basically this sleeve wraps around a water line that just superheats the water, which just circulates inside the water heater. So the heating elements in the water heater don't have to work as hard, and we're going to save some electricity. So we enjoy having our outdoor wood stove. I guess we've had one now for about 15 years, but we just recently got this central boiler. This is our first full winter with our new central boiler wood stove. It's been really cold here, like in the single digits and down below zero here in East Tennessee the last few days. It's been really nice to have it running, but like I said, we're still getting used to it, but it's great to have warm floors, great to have the auxiliary heat when we need the fan running and it blowing some hot air through the air vents, and also knowing it's helping us with our water heater. So it is a lot of work. As you've seen in a lot of our videos, we're cutting and splitting firewood, but we don't mind that too much. We like working together, we like being outside, and here when it gets really cold, it's nice to have the wood stove running. So if you like watching our videos, click the subscribe button, hit the like button, send us some comments. We love getting comments, and share with a friend. And we'll see you next time on Ouch Mountain.